The Church provides jurisdiction. Read canon law. The new code of canon law confirms what I say. I do not have to quote the old canon law to make my point. The new code of canon law affirms in several canons the old law of emergency. Now, why are we in an emergency? Well, listen to my lecture 1, 2, and 3, and you will see we are definitely in an emergency with 99% of the hierarchy preaching heresy. You need Catholic priests. You do not want to go to confession to a priest who says, "Oh, come on, that's not a sin. What's the matter with you?" Today's priests tell young people in the confessional it's all right to go to bed before you're married. Wonderful. This is not what you want when you go to confession. You want to hear the Catholic moral theology, also because otherwise the absolution is invalid. So here some people, some conservatives, I'm not a conservative, I warn you, I'm just plain Catholic. So some conservatives are worried about the jurisdiction of the Society of St. Pius X. They are absolutely not worried about priests who explain away sins in the confessional, which makes absolution invalid. They're absolutely not concerned and worried about priests who give general absolution, which in 99.999 cases is invalid. I have so far known only one single case of general absolution having been valid after the Second World War. And that was on a plane that was threatened with a crash. And the priest got up, turned around, grabbed the microphone, and said, "Anybody who's a Catholic, do an act of contrition, ego vos absolvo peccatis vestris," and so on, gave general absolution. That's valid according to Pius XII. It's valid according even to the decrees of the present Pope. 99.9% of all general absolutions are not valid. Nobody's hooked up with that problem. The conservatives are always worried about the jurisdiction of St. Pius X. Well, I tell you, the Society of St. Pius X gets the jurisdiction for absolution out of canon law. Canon law says jurisdiction can be given either by the competent authority or by the Church itself. The Church itself gives the jurisdiction for absolution or for marriages, as a matter of fact, in certain cases. I'll give you one example. A priest on a ship has all faculties automatically. Sure, he's the only one who can be approached for confession. I mean, if you commit a mortal sin on a cruiser, and that's very easy with the temptations out there, you don't want to die, you don't want to go to hell in case you die the next day or the ship sinks. So you might want a priest to confess to. This priest usually does not have the faculties of confession out there on the ship, because there's no bishop around who would give him the faculty. So the Church gives the faculties. And in any case of emergency, not just in the case of danger of death. See, canon law speaks about the danger of death, but it speaks about emergencies. It does not exclude other emergencies, because canon law is never exclusive without explicitly saying so. That's one of the first canons in the book. So the Society of St. Pius X has jurisdiction simply for the fact that there are no other Catholic priests around, or not enough. You're not, as a Catholic, you are not under the obligation to take a plane into another city in this country to be able to find a Catholic priest for confessing, you want to confess to. That would be ridiculous. The Church is never ridiculous, because canon law can never be above the highest law of the Church, Canon 1725 of the New Code of Canon Law. Suprema lex ecclesiae salus animarum. The highest law of the Church is the salvation of souls. It is absolutely and positively and definitely against the salvation of souls if you are forced to confess to a heretical priest, to a priest who speaks heresy in the sermons, who celebrates the Novus Ordo Missa, which is illicit and against divine law, and who gives the sacraments in the Novus Ordo, which is illicit and against divine law. You don't want to confess to this priest. So canon law cannot be above divine law.